Welcome to day 42 of 7:30. Today is Genesis 50 and Exodus chapter 1. From the New Living Translation, they read, Joseph threw himself on his father and wept over him and kissed him. Then Joseph told the physicians who served him to embalm his father's body, so Jacob was embalmed. The embalming process took the usual 40 days, and the Egyptians mourned his death for 70 days. When the period of mourning was over, Joseph approached Pharaoh's advisers and said, Please do me this favor and speak to Pharaoh on my behalf. Tell him that my father made me swear an oath. He said to me, Listen, I am about to die. Take my body back to the land of Canaan and bury me in the tomb I prepared for myself. So please allow me to go and bury my father. After his burial, I will return without delay. Pharaoh agreed to Joseph's request, and go and bury your father as he made you promise, he said. So Joseph went up to bury his father. He was accompanied by all Pharaoh's officials and the senior members of Pharaoh's household and all the senior officials of Egypt. 8. Joseph also took his entire household and his brothers and their households, but they left their little children and flocks and herds in the land of Goshen. 9. A great number of chariots and charioteers accompanied Joseph. When they arrived in the threshing floor of Atad, near the Jordan River, they held a very great and solemn memorial service with a 7-day period of mourning for Joseph's father. The local residents, the Canaanites, watched them mourning at the threshing floor of Atad. Then they remained that place, which is near the Jordan, Abel Mazraim, or Mazraim. For they said, This is a place of deep mourning for these Egyptians. So Jacob's sons did as he had commanded them. They carried his body to the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave of the field of Machpelah near Mamre. This is the cave that Abraham had bought as a permanent burial site from Ephron the Hittite. After burying Jacob, Joseph returned to Egypt with his brothers and all who accompanied him to his father's burial. 15. But now their father was dead. Joseph's brothers became fearful. Now Joseph will show his anger and pay us back for all the wrong we did him, they said. So they sent this message to Joseph. Before your father died, he instructed us, 17, to say to you, Please forgive your brothers for the great wrong they did to you, for they are sin in treating you so cruelly. So we, the servants of God, of your father, beg you to forgive our sin. When Joseph received this message, he broke down and wept. 18. Then his brothers came and threw themselves down before Joseph. Look, we are your slaves, they said. 19. But Joseph replied, Don't be afraid of me. Am I God? Can I punish you? 20. You intended harm to me, but God intended it all for good. He brought me to this position so I could save the lives of many people. 21. No, don't be afraid. I will continue to care for you and your children. So he reassured them by speaking kindly to them. 22. So Joseph and his brothers and their families continued to live in Egypt. Joseph lived to the age of 110. 23. He lived to see 3 generations of the descendants of his son Ephraim, and he lived to see the birth of the children of Manasseh's son Machir, whom he claimed as his own. 24. Soon I will die, Joseph said to his brothers, but God will surely come to help you and lead you out of the land of Egypt. He will bring you back to the land he solemnly promised to give to Abraham, to Isaac, to Jacob. 25. Then Joseph made the sons of Israel swear an oath. He said, When God comes to help you and lead you back, you must take my bones with you. 26. So Joseph died at the age of 110. The Egyptians embalmed him, and his body was placed in a coffin in Egypt. Now, Exodus. These are the names of the sons of Israel, that is Jacob, who moved to Egypt with their father, each with his family. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. In all, Jacob had 70 descendants in Egypt, including Joseph, who was already there. 6. In time, Joseph and all his brothers died, ending the entire generation. 7. But their descendants, the Israelites, had many children and grandchildren. In fact, they multiplied so greatly they became extremely powerful and filled the land. 8. Eventually, the new king came to power over Egypt, who knew nothing about Joseph or what he had done. 9. He said to his people, Look, the people of Israel now outnumber us and are stronger than we are. 10. We must make a plan to keep them from going even more. If we don't, if war breaks out, they will join our enemies and fight against us, and they will escape from the country. 11. So the Egyptians made the Israelites their slaves. They appointed brutal slave drivers over them, hoping to wear them down with crushing labor. They forced them to build the cities of Pithom and Ramberes as supply centers for the king. 12. But the more the Egyptians oppressed them, the more the Israelites multiplied and spread, and the more alarmed the Egyptians became. 13. So the Egyptians worked the people of Israel without mercy. 14. They made their lives bitter, forcing them to mix mortar and make bricks and do all the work in the fields. They were ruthless in their demands. Then Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, gave this order to the Hebrew midwives, Shiphrah and Puah. 16. When you help the Hebrew women as they give birth, watch as they deliver. If the baby is a boy, kill him. If it's a girl, they can leave. 17. But because the midwives feared God, they refused to obey the king's orders. They allowed the boys to live too. 18. So the king of Egypt called for the midwives. Why have you done this? He demanded. Why have you allowed the boys to live? 19. The Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women. The midwives replied. They are more vigorous and have their babies so quickly we cannot get there in time. 20. So God was good to the midwives, and the Israelites continued to multiply, growing more and more powerful. 21. And because the midwives feared God, he gave them the families of their own. 22. Then Pharaoh gave this order to his people: throw every newborn Hebrew boy into the Nile, but you may let the girls leave. That was Exodus chapter 1. Until tomorrow, stay blessed.